Have we met? I'm Daryl. So I get the honor to talk to you guys today about Lync and Exchange and how they're better together. For those of you that use Lync, you may have heard the term better together, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about Lync and Exchange. There are a lot of things to talk about when it comes to Lync and Exchange, and I could spend days talking about them. You all would suffer, and then I would have a good time, but you guys would not have a good time. So I'm going to try to keep it, well, we'll just have fun. So I figure we'll start with Exchange. I am not Ed Buford. So in case you guys did not know that, I am not Ed Buford. And if you have ever sat in one of Ed's Exchange classes where he's talked about specific things about administration and he's gotten really deep into some specific topic, I'm not that smart. So Ed's not here, and I cannot fill his shoes at all. So what I'm going to do is kind of maybe try to explain more about the Microsoft UC stack. That's what I'm more interested in instead of specific Exchange things. So if you were hoping to gain some specific insight in why this particular admin function of Exchange should be different, then this is not the place for you. But if you are interested in how Microsoft approaches unified communications for instant messaging, presence, conferencing, voicemail, auto attendance, and how all that plays together, you are in the right spot. So I speak often, and if you happen to get up and walk out, you want to offend me, just don't throw stuff at me. So today, we're talking about Exchange. We're talking about Microsoft Lync. We'll talk a little bit about Office 365. I'm not going to get into it very much, just a little bit, but Travis Phipps, one of our good friends, is teaching tomorrow on Office 365, and he'll get much, much, much deeper into the technology than I will. So if you can, go see Travis tomorrow. And then, that's just how I roll. We'll probably have some shenanigans, other than Ruckus Dog. But is Ruckus still up there? Yeah, Ruckus is my, what is Ruckus, Craig? What should we call him? Is Ruckus the receptionist of the group? Headset on, so probably receptionist, yeah. Cool. So let's dive in. Quick mail survey. This is important for me. It helps me kind of schedule and kind of talk about certain things. Who amongst you all are still running some version of Microsoft Small Business Server? That could be SBS 03, 08, 2011. Nobody? Did any of you all run SBS in the past? A few people? Did any of you all have the unfortunate reality of working with Microsoft's EBS product? Yeah, smart man. Anybody else? Okay, cool. All right, so Exchange, 2003. Who still has a 2003 that wants to raise your hand? Yeah, suckers. Hey, got a brave guy in the back. Exchange 2007. Who's still running Exchange 2007? A few back here. Exchange 2010? A lot of you. Exchange 2013? All right, cool. How about Office 365? In a hybrid mode or all Office 365? Who's 100% right now on Office 365 for email? A few. Sweet. Hybrid? You're running some on-prem and some in Office 365? Cool, look at you guys. That's awesome. I like it. How about Google Apps? Where are my Google Apps people? You've raised your hand for every single version of Exchange. What's up? No. So you have Google Apps and Exchange? Are you running it in dual delivery right now? So you separate and distinguish some Google Apps people and some Exchange people. Excellent. And are you all a BSF people? No. Where are you from? Okay. How do you separate it? Is it through membership versus like students, or is it random? Cool. For those of you who didn't hear it, they use Exchange for email, and they use Google Apps for the cloud and collaborative aspects of it, which is a really great product for that. How about something else? What you got? Don't say squirrel mail. Okay. Lotus Notes. Lotus. Anybody else? Anything else? Somebody mentioned squirrel mail to me yesterday. Have any of you all ever worked with squirrel mail? Yeah. Yeah, so squirrel mail was this like web-based mail when that was kind of new and kind of cool. We could do IMAP and POP, and the logo was a squirrel. It was squirrel mail. Right, exactly. I'm dating myself. So, Microsoft Exchange. What's kind of fun about talking about Microsoft Exchange is maybe going back to the beginning, and I'm bad with the mic. So, can you hear me here, or is it better here? Got it. I'll do my very best to do this and eat the microphone. All right, so Microsoft Mail. Any Microsoft Mail people here? What's interesting is that Microsoft Mail was actually Mac first. Microsoft created a product called Microsoft Mail for Apple Talk people. Right, so in this room, we are not talking about Mac versus PC because I don't want to hear it. But Microsoft created a product called Microsoft Mail. What was cool with it is it really solved some problems of some enterprise mail processes. And it really was great until about version 4, and then it became awesome. So we're talking back in the 90s, right? So for some of us that have been doing IT for a while, you can remember this, but there are some young people here as well. So the 90s had some really neat technology. What's neat about Exchange 4.0 specifically, after Microsoft Mail came out, stopped with Exchange version 3.5, Exchange 4.0 came out, Exchange 4 was built on this really great directory service, right? So directory services. Today, you all are Active Directory, but that has not always been around. I'm sorry to tell you, it did not come out, at the beginning of time. There were many different directory services in the 90s and the 80s and the 70s and the 60s as well. But Exchange 4.0, this is why I'm talking about this, was built on this really great directory service. This directory service was a centralized place where they could start building in mail users to centrally authenticate to some methodology of directory service. And it was so good that it became Active Directory. So you have Active Directory today because of Exchange 4.0. You don't have Exchange today because of Active Directory. Does that kind of make sense? The reason I put this as a whole like chicken and egg thing is sometimes to move forward and to implement technology, especially all of us today that are working with Active Directory with the pros and cons and group policies and amazing things we can do today, that's all built out of a mail service. We've probably talked about it before inside your organization, if you're anything like our organization. When mail goes down, the world starts screaming, right? So the reason it's so strong today is because they built this really great directory service on Exchange 4.0. Exchange 5, did anybody here work with Exchange 5? We have some old timers, come on. Craig? Okay, the old timer back here. Back here, Jared worked with Exchange 5. So Exchange 5 actually finally introduced real SMTP. So what I mean by that, email's not new, right? Email's been around for a while. It's been around for 60s, 70s. It's been around for years. It's just been different protocols. SMTP, as we know it today, as unsecure and horrible protocol as it is, thank you, spam, when infrastructures started bringing corporate email into their environment, they had to do what's called relay. You deal with relay now, whether you know it or not, but you were not able to properly administer your own on-site mail servers. You were not able to send email from your organization out to the internet to your buddy across the street or to your mom and all the lolcat pictures that didn't exist. You had to relay through a well-known mail relay service. They were typically universities. They were typically organizations that were trusted in computing space. Is that foreign to you guys? That's really weird, isn't it? You were not allowed to send your email out to the internet unless you developed a relationship with some well-known mail delivery agent. It's kind of like delivering a letter, right? I mean, how are you going to get a letter to somebody? You have to go through the post office, right? You go to some well-known post office or Dropbox or the trusted mailbox at the end of your street that I probably knocked off with a bat when I was younger. So Exchange 5 introduced the real ability to send email out of your organization. It got better through Exchange 5.5, and then with Active Directory, we started building all these new feature sets we have today on top of Active Directory as a centralized system. Please bear with me. This is really kind of cool. Microsoft, for many, many, many years now, has been doing amazing things with email to get real-time communications in your hands. For you as church people, obviously, to work with your organization, with your people that come to your church, to be able to communicate mission trips or whatever you need to communicate with. But in the organizational world, inside the non-profit world, it could be selling orders, right? You might do orders via email. It could be anything, right? We all know how email works. I'm not going to bore you. It's just important to know that Active Directory is now your reliance, but it hasn't always been that case. When Exchange first came out, it was built, believe it or not, like probably many of you today run Exchange in an all-in-one environment. You have a mail server, one mail server. So what happens when that mail server dies? No email, right? So that's good for you. Take a vacation, right? No email, you don't have to work. not so much, right? So when you talk through Exchange and email, like we're going to, remember this is Lync and Exchange, not just Lync. It's important to have the high availability and disaster recovery discussion. Did I spell the word right? D-I-S-C-U-S-S-I. Oh, sweet. Have you all ever discussed true highly availability in Exchange? Is that something that Ed's talked about in the past, or you guys have talked about highly available Exchange? Or is that a new concept to you? For your Exchange 2000 and 2003 people, there were some ways to handle highly availability. You had to have the enterprise version only, and then you set active, left hand, right hand, syncing of your email, and it was clunky, right? So if one thing happened to get corrupt on your left hand, then before you could solve it, it got corrupt on your right hand, so it really wasn't highly available. It sort of was highly available, but it really wasn't redundant, as it were. The services were highly available. Exchange 2007 people, are you guys back there running some sort of clustering service? Are you running a single Exchange box with all the roles on it? So if it goes down, your world hurts? Mm-hmm. Right, so Exchange 2007, when it came out, really built and added to high availability options for your mail services. They came out with these neat acronyms, you can see them on the screen, but they stopped doing this active-based highly available Exchange 2000, 2003 environment because it didn't work, it was horrible. So Exchange 2007 decided that we're going to do some methodology of clustering, right? So the terms you see up here, SEC, LCR, CCR, these are just different ways to take your mail data into logs and ship it somewhere else. So deep inside the bowels of Exchange, everything's a transaction log, right? I think we all know this, please shake your head. Right, it's all a transaction log. So the question is, are you going to synchronously log that stuff? Are you going to store it, say I got my email and ship it over here whenever you want to? Or are you going to ship it to another data center that might be miles and miles away? You can read more about these particular acronyms if you wanted to, but it's kind of a dead technology anyway. Exchange 2010 came out, and they even improved more on high availability. And the way they did that was, this is where you respond. Say it again really loudly. See, you're paying attention. This guy, he needs money. Give this guy money, right? I don't have any money, I'm sorry. So Exchange 2010 improved on high availability in two ways. DAG is one way. I think it's distributed availability groups. I always forget the TLAs and how that works. But the concept is your mail box lives on a mail database on some sort of storage on some server, but now it sits in two at once, or 3 or 4 or 5 or 8 or 12 or 16, right? It's all out in the way. I think it was 8 then, and now it's 16. I don't know. Who knows? Some number of mail servers. That's great and wonderful, right? My mailbox now sits in more than one place. Sounds like the Holy Grail, right? But it's not, because your mailbox is fine, but how do you access your mailbox? Well, Exchange, you access your mailbox through either a client access role. That could be your iPhone through ActiveSync. That could be your Outlook client through whatever that protocol looks like. It could be through the internet through Outlook Anywhere, formerly RPC over whatever it is nowadays. They change it every couple of years anyway, just to confuse people like me. So you have to have some methodology as well to access that mailbox, right? I mean, this kind of makes sense. Please say this kind of makes sense. I'm not totally boring you. Please say I'm not boring you. Exchange 2010 called this CAS array. So you have your client access servers. Let me try to draw this a little bit. It might make it a little bit more sense instead of just seeing words, because you'll be bored to tears. Exchange 2000, 2003, right? You had an active cluster. You did not have the concept of separated roles, right? So each Exchange box ran ActiveSync, each Exchange, if it was available. Each Exchange box ran your SMTP servers to send and receive email. Each Exchange box ran all the processes to make sure your Exchange server stayed up and you could send and receive email. With active clustering, you now had a whatever this word is, right? You have this cluster of Exchange resources. How that got different in Exchange 2007 is you had two standalone boxes. You were no longer in an active cluster, but you replicated back and forth between the two, right? So you have some A side and some secondary A side. I don't like to do A and B. And you have some technology here, LCR, SCR, CCR, which is not Creedence Clearwater Revival. Old guys, please laugh now. Thank you. See, you guys are so good at this. So, Exchange 2007, you had some methodology. Again, Exchange 2007 had roles, but you had some methodology of shipping your mailboxes, but no really good distributed way to handle the inbound and outbound mail service. You could run multiple clusters. You could do weird things inside Windows. I'm not saying you couldn't. But as you know, mailboxes and to make mail flow is not just having a place to stick your mailbox. It has to be a way to access it as well, right? That's why we have multiple doors to get in and out of this room. Please, yes, cool. So Exchange 2010 changed that a little bit more. Exchange 2010 looks kind of like this, but in front of this, you have the ability to split out your client access and hub transport services, primarily your client access services, to make what's called a CAS array. The purpose of this CAS array, for all of you paying attention at home class, is to access your mail through ActiveSync. You go to a URL, right? mail.yourdomain.com, right? Your window pops up inside your browser or your iPhone or your Outlook calendar. It comes in, this is you, it comes into the firewall, and into the firewall it has to go somewhere. What if there's two places for it to go? Well, it could get confusing, right? What happens if the first time you access your mailbox, it goes over here, but then 1 second later, it comes over here, and your Outlook client now prompts you for your username and password, and you get annoyed because you've authenticated to this server, you did not authenticate to this server. Does that make sense? Right? So they introduced this new front-end process called CAS array. This is where now your authentication happens at some methodology of boxes that talk to each other. Hey, Daryl Hunter, I know you. Hey, this is Daryl Hunter, he's over here. Let him inside your mailbox, right? So now they're talking to each other through CAS array back to some now distributed mailboxes called DAG, right? What's cool, or not, if you have a large organization, your CAS arrays could do some level of load balancing, which is important, load balancing to make sure that each packet comes in one way or the other way. But you had to come in the same CAS array every single time. If I wanted to access this mailbox that might be part of my sister organization in another state, I had to always come in through the same CAS array. If I came in through a different CAS array, I was not authenticated. Blah, 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 I'm boring you. It doesn't really matter because it's all fixed now in Exchange 2013. You still have DAGs, so you still have the right-hand side where you have your mailbox databases that sit in multiple servers. But now you can come in any CAS array, any CAS client, anywhere in the environment. So that means you no longer need load balancers. So for many organizations, they went out and spent many thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy really high-end hardware-based load balancers to handle authentication that frankly aren't required anymore to make Exchange work. They're not necessarily a bad idea, they're just not required. So this is really simplifying, I'm using big acronyms, so simplifying the way that mail flow happens and mailboxes and get resiliency for high availability. Again, I wrote here, you still have DAG. I wish the screen was a little bigger text, but I can't make it any bigger. You still have DAG, but you no longer have the CAS array reliance. And Exchange 2013 has shifted their roles. You still have the CAS role, but you no longer have a hub transport role. So a hub transport role for Exchange is actually how email comes in and email goes out. That's the traffic cop. That's the mail delivery. That's the postman. The postman still has to carry the mail. That's what hub transport does. It's actually been shifted now into kind of a split role. The CAS server now has what's called the front-end transport, and the mailbox server now has the hub transport and mailbox transport. We're not going to get into that. This is where you breathe a sigh of relief. We're not going to get into the details of how those roles work. It's just important to know that they're simplifying the architecture in order to make sure that you can now build a more highly available environment so everybody gets their emails at 3 a.m., and when they don't get their emails, they text you and call you at 3 a.m. Because obviously, if a church can't send and receive emails at 3 a.m., it's your fault, right? Right, exactly. But what's good to know about all of this is that unified messaging now lives pretty much on every server. And why do I care about unified messaging? Because this is a Lync and Exchange conversation. We're talking about the Microsoft UC stack. So unified messaging is the fancy way Microsoft handles voicemail and auto attendance and all that fun stuff. Quick flyover in Exchange management. This is important to know. Back in the day, we're still focused now on Exchange 2000 and 2003 because no one really cared about the earlier versions. You have the Exchange System Manager. Remember the Exchange System Manager? The separate standalone application you ran to handle all of your Exchange server management. Exchange 2007 and 2010, they of course changed the name because that's how things work, right? Once you get comfortable with one, I have to change the name of it and change the way it works to make it more difficult for you. They have the Exchange Management Console, pretty much the same thing, sort of. It was built on MMC. It was fine. But they also introduced Exchange Management Shell. How many of you all are PowerShell people? Okay. How many of you all were PowerShell people in Exchange 2007? Were you really? Most people weren't, because it was difficult. It was different, right? So I'm a point-and-click, mouse-to-the-box kind of guy. So I also am a Cisco engineer. So I love command line. I can script stuff all day long in a command line. But for whatever reason, it took me a little bit longer to feel comfortable scripting my Windows server. Isn't that silly? I mean, I had DOS forever. I wrote batch files. I wrote batch processing systems. I played with Unix and Linux for years. But for whatever reason, it was foreign to me to work with PowerShell and a management shell, at least at that point in time. Exchange 2013 is different again. See how that works? You no longer have the Exchange Management Console. So what that means to you is you no longer have a Windows application to manage your Exchange server. So for those of you that aren't comfortable with PowerShell, the good news is Microsoft gave you the Exchange Control Panel. So now you can go to a web page on your Mac or your PC with Safari or Chrome or IE or Firefox or Opera or whatever browser you choose to use. And now you can manage most of your Exchange environment through a web browser, because you're probably more comfortable with that than you are the shell. Who knows what version .next might do? I'm not smart enough to know what version .next might do. But looking up through here, they've made a change, they made a change, they made a change. Who knows what it's going to be next time? But I can tell you the direction of Microsoft is shell. So if you're not comfortable with PowerShell today, please tell me you're starting to become comfortable with it. If not, find a friend who's comfortable with it. Here at Church IT Roundtable, we have really smart shell people. And the beauty of the Roundtable is that many of us that learn things from each other, post them on blogs or Twitter, or talk in rooms like this around whiteboards, please steal from each other, right? Jason said that yesterday at the very beginning. Steal, 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 steal. Thou shalt steal at the Church IT Roundtable. Because remember, you paid $75 whole to come to the Church IT Roundtable for a week. So please make sure you get your money's worth for your $75 whole. So client compatibility is a fun conversation. So since many of you are now running Exchange 2013. If you're not running Exchange 2013, you're going to be running Exchange 2013 someday, or version .next, whatever that looks like, or Office 365, who knows. It's good to know about client compatibility. Exchange 2013 supports the following: Outlook 2013, Outlook 2010 Service Pack 1, Outlook 2007 Service Pack 3. Who in here still runs Outlook 2003? I know there's some of you, because some of you have come by and talked to me this week already. No one in here wants to admit it? So Outlook 2003 is not compatible, but there are some Mac compatibilities, right? For those of you, dear God, that are still running Entourage. If you do run Entourage, EWS, the Exchange Web Services version, you're fully compatible to run Exchange 2013 should you choose. If you're running Outlook for Mac 2011. Anybody running the new version of Outlook? Outlook for Mac 2014? It doesn't exist. I wish it did. Yeah, it's interesting. You know, Microsoft's always been one version off, right? You had PC, Office 03, Mac 04, 07, 08, 2010, 2011, 2013 for PC. Where's the newest Mac version? Where's it? I have no idea. I wish I knew. Because frankly, I don't like Outlook for Mac 2011. I have a PC today. But I didn't like Outlook for Mac 2011. I had a lot of compatibility issues with it. It's a great product. I like the ribbon. I like a lot of things about it. But I'm looking forward to seeing when that next version .next, I guess, comes out, whether it's 14 or 15 or who knows when. So it's interesting. And I don't know the answer. So it depends on who you talk to, because at the Lync conference, they said no. At the Lync conference, because that was a big conversation, because now Lync and Office are combined, right? You You typically do not buy a standalone Lync client. It comes with Office Pro Plus. So when you are trying to get the version of Office that contains the new version of Lync, that way the Mac Lync people can have the more advanced functionality the PC Lync people have. We were at the Lync conference and we were asking specific questions to the product team. I happen to know many of them. Hey, when's this new Lync for Mac 2014 coming out? And they're like, what Lync for Mac 2014? I'm like, yeah, we're all friends. I know how that works, blah, blah, blah. Some people will say this year. I've heard people say 2015. I've heard people say they're going to skip the whole version and go to the next version, whatever that is. Who knows? It's Microsoft, right? If it was Apple, we would know when the new version comes out the day before, right? Because everybody leaks it thinking that they're the first person to scoop Apple and all the new stuff, right? But no one really knows when the new version is coming out. I have heard by the end of 2014. I've also heard first quarter 2015, second, third, fourth quarter 2015. Who knows? It doesn't matter. I want it, and I want it now. But you'll notice there's no Outlook 2003 compatibility. So for those of you that do still run Outlook 2003 and don't want to admit it, it's a dead product. You should get rid of it. It won't work anyway. But I'm also going to kind of flip the tables a little bit. So for you legacy Exchange 2003 people, you know who you are. You can't run Outlook for Mac 2011. You also can't run PC 2013, right? So when you're dealing with such old technology, frankly, like Exchange 2003, this is 2014, right? Just checking. So if you are still running Exchange 2003, you're definitely into support. You're end of life. If you're running on a VMware server, you're at your own risk, right? They won't support it at all, zero. They'll hang up on you. So you definitely need a plan to move forward, whatever that plan looks like. Not just your Exchange server. You need a plan for your Outlook clients as well. I feel like I'm preaching. I apologize. So it's important to know about migration, right? Because that's part of why you guys are probably here a little bit today, to figure out what new versions are and what migration looks like. There are definitely some pains that you should avoid when you're dealing with migration. And I'm going to throw some acronyms up here, so please forgive me. We can talk about any of these acronyms that you want afterwards. Check your client versions. There's a reason on this previous slide, right back here, I talked about the client versions, Outlook and Entourage and Outlook for Mac. I'm hoping that you guys have some way, some methodology to track the software on your network, whatever that looks like, for your PCs, for your Macs, for your Mac users that think they want Mac, but they really want PC, so now they're running VMware Workstation or not, it's called VMware Fusion, I guess, or Parallels or whatever it is that you're, I'm sure, properly licensed for all those now virtual instances, right? Right. So I hope you have some methodology to track your license usage so you can make a plan to move forward with your Microsoft UC solution. So definitely check your client versions. For you Exchange people, if you are Exchange admins in here, which you probably are, check all your Exchange-specific URLs. You guys know you do have Exchange-specific URLs, right? You have your Outlook address book, right? You have your EWS for Exchange Web Services. You have your Exchange control panel for your Exchange 2013 people, but it actually was still there in 2010. It was kind of hidden and redirected through HTTP. And then your offline address book URL, right? You have all of this stuff now presented via web service. If it's presented via web service, that should tell you that it should probably be secure as well, which means you probably have some SSL certificates that you have to deal with as well. I'm not going to get too deep into web services here and SSL certificates. You definitely want to be considering your SSL certificates and as it relates to your domain name. If that's a new concept to you and you've never heard anybody ever say to you in the past, SSL certificates and your Active Directory domain name matter, please come see me at the Mirzon booth, table, whatever we have, or I'll do a 10 talk on it tomorrow. It's just important to know. Active Directory name matters. Also, with your SSL certificates, the way they're encrypted, there's two technologies, SHA-1 and SHA-2. You don't care what they are. But there's big changes coming, first quarter 2015. If you have an old SSL certificate that's running SHA-1, I know it's not on the screen, please forgive me. In 2015, if you're running an old SSL certificate, Chrome browser will no longer recognize it. Chrome browser, for those of you running Chrome, raise your hand. Most of you, if you're running an old SSL certificate that you just set and forget, your Chrome browser is going to start throwing up at you, and you're going to hate it. And then you're going to probably call at me yelling and screaming, Daryl, why didn't you tell me? I'm telling you now. So for your Exchange-specific URLs, definitely check to make sure you know how to migrate. It's important to know what SSL certificates. It's important to know what DNS records exist. Just like Keith was saying this morning as it talked about Wi-Fi. You have to understand the underlying architecture of your network. You don't just manage Exchange. You manage everything, right? Whether you're a one man or a one woman show, whether you have a team of people that you work with, or whether you're managing a team of people, you have to understand where all these pieces are. The URLs, DNS records, SSL certificates, and how they all play. Auto-discover, you're going to check this one twice, or 3 times, or 4 times, or 5,000 times. Because auto-discover is a service to make sure that your iPhone works, and your Macs work. All you pretty people with your Macs, and then you PC people too, I'm sorry for you. Oh crap, I have a PC too. Auto-discover is the methodology by which it automatically discovers, haha, clever name, right? Automatically discovers and configures your mail client for you. That way you don't have to remember the specific URLs. You type in a username and a password or an email address and it goes out and makes things magic. Auto-discover is how that works. Auto-discover is also part of a web service with a DNS record and an SSL certificate. Finally, there will be a process by which you move the Dave Mast mailbox. Hi, look, hi Dave Mast. Where you move the Dave Mast mailbox from server A to server B, and you have to know how to do that. You can do this via graphical interfaces. You can do this via PowerShell. But depending on what version of Exchange you're moving from and what version of Exchange you're moving to, and the variable of what client that you use to access that mailbox, it might potentially lock your mailbox where you can't use it. So let's just say, for example, let's just say that your mailbox is 30 gigs in size. And surely nobody out there has a large mailbox like 20 or 30 gigs in size, right? I have a mailbox that's about 20 or some odd gigs in size. Hi, Craig. My mailbox on our Exchange server is really big. So when I move my mailbox from version to version, if I was coming from an old version to a new version, my mailbox could get locked. What that means is, in the process by which it takes to move my Exchange mailbox from here to there, I can't access it from Outlook. I can't access it from Outlook Web Access. I can't access it from my iPhone. So for all intents and purposes, my mail's down. Ah! You're probably going to migrate people in the middle of the night. You know as well as I do that you've got a senior pastor or a pastor's assistant or somebody in children's ministry or who knows whom that you deal with regularly that has computer problems in the middle of the night, and they like to tell you about the computer problems you had in the middle of the night. Please tell me I'm not alone. Right. So you need to know what your version compatibility looks like and what that process looks like to move their mailboxes from new version to old version. If you're modern and you're running new versions of Outlook and new versions of Exchange, no one will know. It's going to happen automatically. It'll be brilliant. It'll be perfect. And you're going to be a hero. And you can do all the things that you do as a network plumber or a network janitor that they never know and see you do. And no one will be the wiser. Mailbox migrations matter. Wow, that was hard to say. It matters when you're migrating a mailbox, what version of Exchange you're dealing with and what version of Outlook you're dealing with. The reason I'm putting these up here, I'm going to make this slide deck available, whether through the Church IT website or through Twitter or at Mirzon. I don't know. We'll make it available. It's just good to know what some of the moving parts are. It's almost 2 o'clock. Thanks you for staying with me. So Exchange Server interoperability. Let me try that again. Exchange Server interoperability. Exchange can fully interop unified messaging with lots of different phone systems. You're probably wondering, wow, Daryl, that seemed like a really big shift. I mean, you're sure you pressed the clutch. Remember, we're talking about Lync and Exchange. We're talking about the Microsoft UC platform. If we're talking about a Microsoft UC platform and the way that phones and the mailboxes and voicemail all interact, then probably not everybody in the world has all Microsoft stuff. If you do, awesome. If not, then you may want that, or you may not. But if you want that, you need to know. Cisco, Avaya, and of course Microsoft Lync are 100% fully interoperable with Exchange Server. Whether it's on-prem, you're running Exchange in your servers, in your data center, or if you're running Exchange online through Office 365. They're 100% compatible. They work perfectly. They're brilliant. They're awesome. They're lovely. So for you Cisco Call Manager people, because there's some of you in here, if there's Cisco Call Manager people, the voicemail product is Cisco Unity. You don't have to run Cisco Unity with Cisco Call Manager. You can move all of that voicemail functionality and auto-attendant functionality. The call handlers inside Unity can all go to Exchange. and then you can drop that Unity box. You can stop paying SmartNet on it. You can move on with life to something a little bit more modern if you choose to. You don't have to, but you can. Same thing with Avaya, and of course Microsoft Lync, they call it today. There's a lot of ways to make that happen. Exchange and Google Apps, they are 100% compatible. Amongst you guys today, right now, are people that are running Exchange and Google Apps in a 100% dual delivery environment. They may or may not wish to identify themselves, and that's fine, but it works fine. Exchange can either be the primary mail service. Your MX records from the internet come to Exchange, and they deliver that email to Google Apps because, for whatever reason, your worship pastors think that Microsoft's horrible, and now I want to run Google Apps inside my web browser because that's what I want to do, and I hate you IT people. You can make them happy. You can do it the opposite direction. You can keep all your primary mail flow through Google Apps, and then Google can deliver to on-premise Exchange or Office 365. They go left and right wonderfully. They can do it through a transition. Maybe you're on Exchange and don't want to be on Exchange, and you want to go to Google Apps. Maybe you're Google, but you want Lync. Well, see, Lync and Google are not compatible. Sorry. So if you want Lync, then you have to have Exchange, whether it's going to be on-prem or Office 365. So maybe that's why you want to do a delivery, like potentially somebody sitting out here at one of these tables. That's exactly what's happening with them. So long-term, side by side, no problems at all. Have you heard that? Is that new information to anybody? Do you all know that Exchange and Google Apps are 100% compatible? Is that new to any of you all? Cool. We don't deal with it a whole lot. It happens. It's a good transition strategy, one way or the other, left to right, right to left. But it's good to know that you can make that work properly. So that's enough about email. Whew, this guy, I'm so done with email. So we're going to wrap it up. Is there anything with Exchange? I'm opening the floor to you smart men and women. Is there anything that you want to talk about or discuss that we've not yet gotten to related to Exchange? We've got probably maybe 10 minutes if we wanted to have a small open forum. I'm not the smartest man in the room, but I might be able to make some notes and answer your questions later. Any topics related to Exchange? Teresa? A little bit. Teresa asked if I was going to talk about single sign-on and how that relates to Office 365. I will talk briefly about directory sync and password sync. I'm not going to spend much time on it because Travis Phipps tomorrow is going to talk a lot about that, and he's really smart. So he'll probably get pretty deep into it. I think he just did a 10 talk, right? I honestly wasn't in there. I was taking a tour. I hate that I missed it. The basic thing to know, it's important. I'll bring it up a little bit. Some methodology to make Lync and Exchange better together, which is the whole topic we're talking about today. If you want Lync and you want Exchange, Lync, by me saying you want Lync, if you want Lync to be your phone system, Lync to be part of your unified communications platform and your Microsoft UC ecosystem, Lync today is on-premise. Email can be on-premise or Office 365. I don't care. It could be both. It doesn't matter to me at all. But to make those two married, to talk to each other, you have to have some methodology to handle same sign-on. You'll hear people say single sign-on. You'll hear people say same sign-on. I'm not going to argue which one it is. I honestly don't know. You need some methodology for your Active Directory username and password to be available to Exchange Online, whatever you want to call that. You can do that through ADFS, Active Directory Federation Services. It's a way to build servers and have them on-premise talk to Office 365. It's great, from what I hear. I don't run ADFS. I've never had a need to use ADFS. For all of our customers that we work with, we use Directory Sync. I think Travis talked about Azure Active Directory Sync, which is kind of a new version coming out. We're still using legacy Directory Sync, but by legacy, it's Server 2012 R2. I mean, is Server 2012 R2 legacy? Not now, but probably in about 10 years, some guy like me is going to sit up here and tell you, if you're running Server 2012 R2, get off of it, seriously. Just like I am with you today in Exchange 2003, get off of it, seriously. So you need Directory Sync, you need Password Sync. They talk back and forth. The whole concept is for you to use your Burnt Hickory, tplugter username and password at both sites. If you don't run same sign-on, some technology, you cannot properly have Lync on-prem go to Exchange Online for voicemail. Voicemail won't be delivered. There are many other things too, but the primary focus of this conversation is for voicemail. No worky. Email can work just fine. You'll just have to maintain 2 usernames and passwords. And I think he's not in here. There's somebody I've worked with in this group that does this today. They have Exchange on-prem, they have Exchange online, they have hybrid set up, but hybrid does not require directory sync. It's a wise decision to do, but it's not required. You need some methodology to handle directory sync for attribute sync up, but you don't need to have password sync. Let me rephrase that. I'm sorry, in case I'm being recorded. To make hybrid work properly, you need to have directory sync to make sure all those Active Directory attributes are properly pushed up to Office 365, but you don't have to use password sync. So I could have a dhunter account on-prem and a dhunter account on Office 365 with 2 separate passwords, and that's totally cool and perfect and great and wonderful. But how much time do you guys spend dealing with passwords? Some of you spend a lot of time dealing with passwords. Some of you all don't ever set passwords to expire and don't have to deal with that. So it depends on what you're dealing with. Sorry, don't hurt me. So it just depends on how you're dealing with passwords, right? So there's a lot of different ways to handle that. That's a good question. Any other Exchange relevant? Don't hurt me. Sir? Pros and cons for having a fully hosted Exchange environment like Office 365 versus having Exchange inside your data center. Man, that's like the Mac versus PC, iPhone versus Android holy war question, right? I have my favorites. This is the gospel of Daryl Hunter. This is not officially endorsed by Mirazon or anybody else. I like them both. I really do. I know that sounds really cagey. I'm a consultant, right? It depends. I like Office 365 because I don't like having to deal with storage and compute. If there's a way for me to get my compute, my CPU resources, my memory resources off of my data center, that means I need to have less ESX hosts or less Hyper-V hosts. I can use those for other things. Potentially, I don't need any servers on site, right, if I'm getting really high-tech and dealing with something. But I'm not quite there yet, but I don't necessarily need to have Exchange on-prem. The disadvantage of having all of my email online is now I have no real recourse in case mail goes down, right? If email's on my, bear with me, if email's in my data center and, oh no, there's an email problem, I can fix it. Maybe. At what expense? Right? It might be time where I like to play with my kids. It might be time that I'm dealing with that I have to figure out how to do something I don't know how to do. I don't know what error 14056 means, and what does this regex skew underscore date timestamp thing mean? I don't know. So I'm going to ask Dr. Google, who's a lot smarter than me, and Dr. Google or cousin Bing will tell me where to go figure out how to find that answer. And then the second result on the search page is me asking a forum, how in the world do you solve that? Wow, sorry. Didn't mean to get personal there. That's happened recently. So I don't really have a recourse, right? So yeah. So let me try it again. Exchange Online, Office 365, left hand, right? I don't have to manage compute. I don't have to manage storage. I don't have to deal with people with 20 or 30 gig mailboxes like myself that are eating up all of my data store, and probably a very expensive SAN, right? It could be local storage, who knows, right? I have no idea what your architectures look like. I don't have to deal with that. I get 50 gigs per mailbox for $0 a month, potentially. $4 a month, maybe, $4.50 a month, whatever that looks like. I don't have to go through a capital expense project and beg and plead with my elders or my finance committee or my boss, give me money, give me money, give me money, and then now IT is a time suck. I don't have to deal with that, and IT is a money suck. I don't have to deal with that at all. Microsoft takes care of all that. Isn't that awesome? Yay, Microsoft, yay. That's great. Hey, Daryl, the senior pastor just deleted his calendar. Can you get that back for me? Nope. Can't do that, sorry. Right? That's a pretty big con, right? How do you deal with things like that? But if I have it on-prem, now I have to deal with storage. I have to deal with management. I have to patch it. I have to properly architect things like client access services. I have to properly architect things like IP addresses. And oh no, I upgraded my firewall firmware version and it died. Yeah. There's pros and cons, man. And I have no clean answer. And I get asked this a lot. And we talked about this briefly last night, or even today, I think. And I get asked this question a lot, and I have no clean answer. I like hybrid. I like both. And we have many organizations. We work at universities and colleges and even organizations that are just a few hundred people. And they keep some subset of users on-prem, some subset of users in Office 365. And it works brilliantly for them. I can think specifically of a college we work with that all of their faculty and staff are on-prem because they want to have some methodology of control of backup and recovery. It's not because they want to manage Exchange. They hate managing Exchange. They don't want Exchange. But they know some senior administrator is going to delete a really important contact of that one really important donor that I can never get back for them, right? But their students, send them to Office 365. You know what's cool about putting students on Office 365? Well, they already all have 1,700 billion devices that they carry around with them in their pockets and their purses and their backpacks. They're running their iPads and their Androids and all the things that they're running. Wow, I sound old. They're already doing all of that. And I don't want to deal with the bandwidth. I don't want to have a really highly redundant infrastructure so my student who needs to turn in a homework assignment at 11:59 and 43 seconds in the evening or they're going to get an F. Oh, no, email's down. It's your fault, Daryl. But I can put that on Office 365, and then now they're handling that around many data centers around the world. Oh no, what if Office 365 goes down? It happens. There are methodologies to be able to get things back. I was kind of speaking generally, I'm sorry. There are very specific ways to get things back. If you're running hybrid, obviously you have lots of options. If you're running inside Exchange Online, there's PowerShell options, there's deleted mailboxes, there's also deleted recovery items. There's ways to get things back. But the resources you have, like for example, Veeam, no worky, right? I mean, because you have no access to mount the data store. And wow, if you're not running Veeam Explorer for Exchange right now, please go find somebody here that knows a lot about Veeam and talk about Veeam Explorer for Exchange, right? So you have lots of amazing ways to handle Exchange. In your environment, I have to look specifically how you're doing it. Did I answer your question? I know it sounded kind of consulty, I'm sorry, but it really does depend. Yeah, so it's definitely nice having E1 or E2 or whatever it is, because it's actually E2 when you get inside your control panel. But yeah, it's nice that that's $0. It's nice that E3 is $4.50, for sure. I hope it stays that way. We've seen it already with TechSoup, right? For those of you old timers, TechSoup had really great things at Microsoft. They took it away for a number of years. Gone, can't have it. And now it's back again. So for some of you all, you might feel kind of hesitant. Do I want to sign up and try to get TechSoup licensing again? Because they may yank it again. Who knows? Same thing with Adobe and Creative Cloud, right? We all dealt with that a few years ago. Any other Exchange questions? Man, sorry with the microphone. What was that Veeam thing I just said? So important, write it down, Teresa. Veeam Explorer for Exchange. Veeam Explorer for Exchange. More people should be writing or typing that down. I'll wait right here. It's not a product, it's a feature. Feature of Veeam. VEEAM.com. I'm thinking that Mark Burleson and Justin Moore are going to talk about Veeam. Is that right? They are tomorrow? Yeah. They were going to, I know. We're right in the middle of an interesting transition. Veeam has announced version 8 of their products. They actually just had their first conference called Veeam On. Craig was there, and some of our other principals were there. They've announced version 8 and a lot of really great features. It's not generally available. We were hoping it was going to be generally available this week, so we could give Veeam to all of you all. But there's some pretty amazing things you can do with Veeam. So I'm not going to sell Veeam because I'm talking about Lync and Exchange better together. But you have to have some methodology to back up your servers, right, if you have them on-prem, and Veeam's a great solution for that. Anything else Exchange? A couple more minutes. Anybody? Moving on. Okay. All right. So this might seem a little out of the world, but this is fun. I don't watch a lot of movies or anything like that. I don't even know where I got Pop Quiz, Hot Shot, but I think it was from like Speed, right? Wasn't that Speed? Anyway, who cares? Instant messaging. Let's talk about instant messaging for a little bit. When was the first use of instant messaging? This is for you all to respond. Just shout it out. We're among friends. Space program, sort of. Yeah, keep going. Don't be shy. Just sit there and be awkward. That's okay. Pagers? No, before pagers. Pagers. It was Al Gore's campaign. Ding, 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 ding. No, not really. Yeah, Al Gore invented it, I'm pretty sure. You're probably wondering why I'm talking about instant messaging, right? Do what? Why? Hey, Daryl, why are you talking about instant messaging? I like this guy. So instant messaging is kind of at the core of Lync, but we're going to get to that. First examples of instant messaging were actually in the 60s. So I'm an old school phone guy, right? I'm young, I'm 39, but I've been dealing with phones since I was preteen. Those of you that know my story will know a lot of this, but I am the guy at the Church IT Roundtable who's been to jail for phone system hacking. Oh no, why did they give this guy a microphone? So in the 60s, there was a product called Multics, right? Multics is the Unix solution for AT&T, right? So for those of you that care, which none of you do, Multics had instant messaging built in. It was a shared system environment. I can show you the manuals if you want to see it. I still have them in my garage. So it's a way to notify users. I wasn't born in the 60s. It's a way to notify the users of shared systems when something was going to happen, whether it was a system update or whether it was some solution that was going to go down, servers rebooting. It's an instant message. Ha, you like how I did that? It's an instant message. It's not what you think of. It's an instant message. If you ever dealt with old school Unix or Linux, there was programs called Talk and InTalk and WildTalk, and if you're old school BBSers, there was built-in instant messaging. Where are my old school BBSers? Anybody here did BBSing? Sweet. I was a core contributor to WWIV, the World War IV bulletin board system, and Wildcat. So if you ever dealt with those back in the day, I'm probably the guy that wrote the modem routines. So if you ever dealt with Y modem or Z modem, look through the source code sometime. You'll find Daryl Hunter. Ha, 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 ha. That's a freebie. So BBSs were a great place where instant messaging was used. There was Talker. Talker was another solution. And of course, IRC, right? Because all of you are good church IT people, and you know we have an IRC chat room, right? Yeah, some of you know that. Some of you don't. IRC, honestly, this is really embarrassing. I checked the other day. It's been like 500 days or something since I've been inside the Church IT Roundtable IRC channel. I know. Please don't hurt me. But IRC is instant messaging. It's a way for you to type, and now people see what you're typing, right? It really all shifted in '96. Some really smart teenagers. I'll pause there. You all do know that teenagers are a lot smarter than you, right? Please tell me you understand that. There is nobody smarter when it comes to network security and wanting to see dirty pictures or wanting to break into your network than a 14-year-old boy. He'll do it every single time, and you cannot stop him. So just accept it. So ICQ was written in 1996 by some Israeli teens. It is a key thing, right? ICQ, which stood for I seek, right? I want to find, I seek you. ICQ was one of the first mainstream instant messaging programs that you could download and install on your computer. Who used ICQ? It's crazy, isn't it, right? So did you know that we're going to talk about Lync and Exchange and ICQ? Then AOL bought it and ruined it, just like they do everything else, right? AOL bought the intellectual rights to ICQ, and it's dead. How many of you all in the last couple years have tried to log on with using your ICQ username and password? Did it work? No, it did 3 years ago. It did 2 years ago. I think it was like last year that they actually finally expired the hash for the password hashing. They say they expired the password hash. I don't think they actually hashed any of the passwords at all. I think it's all plain text, and you all are in some rainbow table somewhere, because I probably have it. So, what are you laughing for? That wasn't funny. It's funny because it's true. So in 2000, things kind of shifted again. Jabber came out, right? Jabber, and now it's Jabber or OpenFire, or XMPP is the protocol. Jabber is another instant messaging protocol that came out, right? Any Jabber users? Have you ever used Jabber corporately? Just privately, right? You know, Pigeon or some other Jabber client, whatever it might be. Who knows, right? You have to know. I know. We got to pause right here. Corporate. Cool. So you guys ran Jabber through Call Manager, right? So did you run Cupsy or did you actually run Jabber? Because they're slightly different. Cool. Yeah, still XMPP, right? Cool. So did you guys know that Exchange 2000 had a full instant messaging service built into it? If you knew that Exchange 2000 had an instant messaging service built into it, please raise your hand. Exchange 2000 had a full instant messaging service built into it. Isn't that crazy? Full into the Exchange product, there was a way for you to do instant messages outside of email. I asked that question at Mirazon, Craig. We have a lot of really smart engineers. Who is the one engineer that knew that Exchange 2000 had a full instant messaging service in it? Besides me. Greg Turner. Greg Turner is our senior most Exchange guy. Some of you in here have dealt with Greg. He's freaking brilliant. I don't know how his brain works. But he knew I was talking about Lync and Exchange, and he came over. I was working on this exact slide, and I was at about this point. And he came up and said, "You are going to talk about the Exchange 2000 instant messaging service, are you?" And I went like this. And he's like, "Whew, we are so nerdy. I mean, really? We're trying to like help each other remember that Exchange 2000, however many years ago, had an instant messaging service?" That's kind of how we roll at Mirazon. But this is why you care about instant messaging, right? You care about it not just because we're talking about Lync and Exchange, because we are talking about Lync and Exchange, but you care about it because Facebook has instant messaging, and Twitter is an instant messaging service. There's Google Talk. There's WeChat and QQ. Anybody in here know WeChat and QQ? You know why? You know why none of you know about WeChat and QQ? Look around, look around, look around. Because you're all white. You all live in America. You get outside the US, and especially get into Asia, WeChat and QQ are the way to go. QQ is larger than Facebook. Did you know that? Yeah, you probably didn't. So instant messaging is popular. It's super popular. Microsoft obviously has Skype, right? They bought Skype years ago, got rid of Tony. Now they got, what's his name again? I can't think about it. Anyway, so Microsoft Lync does instant messaging. That's fine, but it's not just instant messaging. Microsoft, believe it or not, was kind of on the cutting edge when it came to corporate IM. Did you guys know that? Can you believe that Microsoft was on the cutting edge when it comes to corporate instant messaging? How many of you all ran Windows 95? Craig, yes? You know what question I'm going to ask? It does. How many of you all ran Windows 95 and Windows 98? How many of you all knew about Microsoft Net Meeting? Yeah. You know what's fun about Microsoft Net Meeting? Microsoft's Net Meeting's executable was rtc.exe. The core underlying architecture of Microsoft Lync up until version 2013 was rtc.exe. Fun little fact no one cares about. So Microsoft, the 90-ish, saw these Israeli teens in their ICQ program and said, "Give me some of that." So they wrote their own program called Net Meeting. Why did Microsoft run Net Meeting? No one really knows, because Microsoft didn't really have a vision for it. They just knew they wanted to have some methodology for instant messaging from computer to computer. But around the same time frame, people were starting to buy webcams. Not necessarily for good reasons, but Net Meeting was a solution that people could use to chat back and forth and to see each other. Obviously, for corporate usage reasons, to discuss important widgets and business plans and P&L certificates and things like that, right? That's exactly why people wanted to use webcams. So Microsoft developed a product called Net Meeting. They decided to turn that into a whole suite of products using Office 2003. In Office 2003, they launched Live Communication Server 2003. Any LCS 2003 people out there back in the day? Probably none of you. It was a whole suite based around Active Directory. What? I can use my Active Directory username and password and authenticate to some corporate solution that allows me to instantly chat with all of my friends? Isn't that awesome? Again, Microsoft didn't have a great vision for it. It was called Live Communication Server 2003, which of course they then turned into Live Communication Server 2005, because this is Microsoft, right? Everything has to have a year in it, apparently, until we get to Windows 8, Pi, 10, something. LCS 2005, what's cool about it is they brought in conferencing. They brought in a player that could compete with things like WebEx and GoToMeeting. WebEx and GoToMeeting, which really weren't there. They kind of were. People had WebEx. I can't remember if GoToMeeting existed or not, but there really weren't great ways to share screens. Salespeople had solutions, but every sales solution was different. For those of us that have been in IT before, you probably got an invite or someone called you on the phone and said, "Please come watch my slide presentation so I can sell you this most awesome widget." But then you had to download a something and install it in a browser and it worked or it didn't work or it wasn't compatible or whatever reason. But LCS 2005 from Microsoft introduced conferencing, but they also introduced the concept of federation. Federation is business-to-business communication. So let's say I have LCS 2005 and Dave Mast has LCS 2005, and we are now Boeing and some other government entity making awesome spacecraft, but we had to have some way to get instant responses. We didn't want to send email. We may or may not want to use phones because we might both be out in the shop floor somewhere. We could use LCS 2005. I could authenticate to my Active Directory. Dave could authenticate to his Active Directory. Our two systems could securely communicate to each other, and we could send instant messages back and forth. This sounds so stupid, right? I mean, why are we even talking about this? This was 9 years ago. Actually, it was 11 years ago when LCS 03 came out. It was 18 years ago when ICQ hit. It was 50 years ago when instant messaging became popular. And we, right now, can't figure out how to properly get good corporate instant messaging in our environment. But LCS 2005 brought the ability to do B2B communications. Microsoft, in their wisdom, rebranded. In 2007, they called it Office Communication Server because Live Communication Server wasn't good enough. The reason they did this, there's a lot of folklore around it, but again, OCS 2007, the underlying architecture was called RTC.exe. Just remember, it's still net meeting at the core. OCS 2007 brought in more and more voice and video functionality, right? Not just net meeting video, but now federated video, right? You might have a business partner across the world, but now you can have video meetings. That's daily occurrence for some of you all, right? Yeah, but then again, this was corporately Active Directory authenticated video meetings across the pond. It's kind of unheard of in a video solution, right? There were other solutions out there that could do certain subsets of this for bolt-on products, but this is a full integrated suite, top-down. 2007 R2 brought the ability to integrate this into a phone system. Yay, that's why you're here. Phone system, look at 3 or 4 or 5 or 20 heads just popped up. I said phone system, that's funny. So OCS 2007 R2 brought the ability to have phones in Microsoft Office Communication Server talk to each other. Not like you know about it today. You still had a plastic phone from Cisco or Avaya or whoever you had, and maybe a plastic phone that was OCS certified or a soft phone. But it was the ability to get some methodology to communicate on your computer now instead of this dumb plastic phone on your desk. How many of you all check voicemail on the plastic phones at your desk? Nobody does. The red light blinks forever and you ignore it, because I know all of you. I probably called all of you. You never turned my calls. Anyway, Lync 2010 is, of course, what they branded it again in 2010, because it's Microsoft. They're going to rebrand. So it became Lync for whatever reason. Bill Gates was excited about it. So in 2010, Lync 2010 came out. This was the time that you no longer required PBX integration. Lync is your PBX. Lync is my PBX. When Lync 2010 came out, you could throw away your ShoreTel, Mitel, Cisco, Avaya, Intertel, Picatel. I don't care what you have. You could throw your phone system into the trash and build a software-based Microsoft server, because you all know how Microsoft servers work. You all have Veeam to back them up. Of course you do. You know how Microsoft servers work. You could build an entire infrastructure around a Microsoft solution for dial tone. Anywhere you are, anywhere in the world, no VPN, no plastic phone if you don't want it, or a plastic phone if you do. Lync 2013 is the newest version, so my last bullet point, yes, we are on the 6th generation of the Microsoft UC platform as a suite. Some would argue we're on number 5. Some would argue we're on number 7. It depends on how you want to count the versions and how you want to count the feature sets. But I have the microphone. So it's the 6th generation of the Microsoft suite. Yay. So what's interesting about that, for those of you that have done Microsoft work for a while, is that it's not version 1. Because if it's version 1, you'd never install it, because that'd be silly, wouldn't it? It's the 6th version of the Microsoft UC suite. It's pretty stable. In fact, it's so stable, they've got hundreds and 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 hundreds of thousands of people using it. Large-scale places like ExxonMobil, Microsoft Corporate, Sprint PCS. You know, they're a phone company, right? Sprint PCS. What's their PBX? Lync, right. They've gotten big, giant companies using Microsoft Lync as their phone system, not because they're giving them money to do it. Hey, be my poster child. They probably some of that, right? There's a TEP program to do that. But anyway, Microsoft Lync is not just IM. I apologize for this graphic. I'm hoping it can actually be seen. Maybe, can you guys see that okay back there, or is it too glary? Is it okay? Good enough? Okay. Microsoft Lync is not just IM. It's your Office apps, right? The whole kind of premise of IM, the whole premise of a unified communication suite is finding the right person at the right time. So when you utilize instant messaging, you want to know if you're available. Daryl Hunter, can I instant message with you? What's your status? It's typically represented by red, yellow, green, right? I'm red, I'm busy. I'm yellow, I'm away. I'm green, I'm available. Unless you're a presence liar, because I'm a presence liar, I'm always busy. Yeah, some of you all know what I mean. I'm always busy. Not really. So your Office apps have to have some methodology to tie in to understand your presence and to understand your availability. And with Lync, that's 100% compatible. There are others in Lync that do that. There are some other third-party IM solutions that can read your availability, but they're now having to read it through an API versus reading it natively through Microsoft technology. It's video conferencing. We've talked about that, right? You have a webcam on your computer. Almost all of you all have webcams on your laptops, probably. Any of you not have a webcam on your laptop right now that you want to admit? You don't have a laptop with you? Oh, you have a laptop. Dave doesn't. Yeah. You have a full functional video conferencing solution in front of you right now. It's audio conferencing, right? Not just audio conferencing computer to computer, because you all have Skype, right? Most of you all probably use Skype. Skype users, right? Some, right? So Skype became a kind of a big deal in the computer church world years ago for missions. That was the reason, actually. Hi, Mr. IT guy, I want you to open up your firewall so I can use Skype with my mission partners somewhere in Africa. And most likely that happened one time only. They just wanted to Skype with their grandparents, right? That's kind of how it worked. Or at least that's how it always worked for me, but that's probably what happened to you too. You just don't know it. But built into Lync is video conferencing and audio conferencing. Are you noticing the collaborative efforts that you can use with Lync? Right? And so now if you're a multi-site church, you don't need to drive across campus, right? You can have your full staff meeting anywhere you are. That'd be kind of cool. You could have campus pastors collaborate over messages and preach to each other over video. That sounds awkward, right? It might be awkward at first, because now I'm having to look at this little screen. I have this little inches. I have to say, hi, how are you? Instead of being in front of a room like you and waving my hands and sounding all important. But I just saved a whole bunch of money, right? Not Geico money, but other money. I just saved money. I didn't have to time. I didn't have to drive. I can tell you right now, I've sat in your shoes. You guys may or may not know that for almost 10 years. I was in full-time church IT. And if I had a 2-hour meeting, I had a 1-hour meeting at a campus that was 2 hours away, I was gone the entire day. I'd get up in the morning. I probably slept in because I'm lazy. I grabbed a donut, a Diet Coke. I drove to the meeting. I had my 1-hour meeting, but while I'm there, I might as well visit and talk for a little bit, right? That's important. That's good. Then I can go to lunch with my friends, and I'll probably stop by Barnes & Noble or Best Buy or whatever they have at that city that I may not have in my city. But then I got to get home in time. But, wow, it's 3:45. It's almost the end of the day. I might as well just go ahead and go home. So for that 1-hour meeting, I've lost potentially an entire day of productivity. Or I now have that 1-hour meeting anywhere I am. And I end that meeting and go about my business. There's pros and cons to that, right? Sometimes it's good to get away from your office for an entire day and refresh, right? Mental health break. We all need mental health breaks. I need to get in the car and have some road rage against the invisible ants in front of me, right? Whatever that is. But sometimes you're really busy and you don't want to drive to that campus. You don't want to have to deal with that. Now you can be more productive and get more done wherever you are. That's kind of how this rolls. The light bulbs turn in for those of you all that are kind of new to this, right? Lync is telephony. This is full dial tone telephony. If you call Mirazon, if you're a customer or a potential customer, or if you want to call me on my business card number, you're going to dial into Microsoft Lync. That is our phone system, and it works most of the time. And if it doesn't work, it's my fault. So it is a telephony solution, full dial tone, inbound, outbound. I don't care if you're an analog phone line or a PRI or a SIP trunk or Centric system or whatever you are. If you're running Cisco Call Manager, I don't care. I can make Lync work for you. Where that's really neat is when it comes into audio dial-in conferencing, right? Hey, I didn't have this meeting, and I don't know where you're at. You might be out in the middle of nowhere on your cell phone. Surely you probably have a policy where you shouldn't use your cell phone while driving. But who knows, right? I'm not you. So you might have to have some methodology to have some way to dial in to have a really important meeting. Maybe you are trying to partner with a mission partner, and you need to have a dial-in number. You could be doing that with 1-800-free-dial-up-calls.com, whatever that is, right? You might already have a solution like GoToMeeting or WebEx. This solves that problem as well. It's a one bundled suite managed from one central console. We'll talk about that. I'm not going to kind of gloss over persistent chat because this is often misunderstood, and it'd be easier to have that persistent chat conversation one-on-one. But the idea is to have chat rooms. For those of you all that do 37 signals type stuff, there's a product they have called Campfire that does some of this. It's used a lot in churches specifically for audio video text on the weekends between multi-sites. They can jump into a chat room and talk about timing, especially if they're streaming the sermon. So that way when the worship band gets done and it fades to black, and a talking head comes up on the screen and starts preaching God's word, at some churches, that's coordinated down to the second. Some churches, that's all done via digital recording. It just depends on who you are as a church. But persistent chat is a solution that churches use for that. We can talk more about that later. Obviously, it's instant messaging. It's web conferencing. Web conferencing, I've already mentioned GoToMeeting and WebEx, sharing your screen. You can use it as a help desk tool. I'll repeat that because I slurred my words. You can use their web conferencing feature as a help desk tool. You can share your screens built into the product, right? Hey, Daryl, this is really weird. I have this weird message on my screen that says something about my files are encrypted, and I need to pay a ransom to get all these files off. Why are you all laughing? You guys never heard that before, right? That's new? I mean, that should be shocking to you. To be able to get these files off my laptop, well, through Lync, right? Well, the first thing you probably wouldn't do is Lync screen share. You would tell them to burn their computer. But if you were going to share your screen with Lync, now you can share a screen, share control, share mouse, share keyboard. You may have a solution for this that you're paying for, right, or free. But now you have another solution that Lync does, centrally managed, one client, one bolt-on package. And obviously it's voicemail. It's voicemail with Exchange, which is why I started talking about Exchange. I'm going to talk briefly through some of my favorite features of Lync. Believe it or not, we're at 2:36, so we got about 20 more minutes. I hope I haven't bored all of you. I've only lost, I think, one of you, so not too bad. He might come back, though. It was a Cisco guy. I was being kind of mean to Cisco. So here's some of my favorite features of Lync. You'll notice that the slides look a little different, right? Because all of my slides are stupid black and white, or black text. Obviously, I stole these from a Microsoft slide deck, which is fun to do. But here are some of my favorite features. I like the video and sharing content. I share my screen constantly. I don't mind sharing control with you. It doesn't bother me at all. I do that so much when people are interested in Lync. I want them to touch it. I want them to see what the buttons do. I want them to drag it around the screen and minimize it and click. That's fun to be able to do with Lync. You can do that lots of different ways, right? Yay, look at that, I can share my screen. But again, like I mentioned, it could be a help desk tool for you. I like the unified user experience. What that means is I have Active Directory user. Anywhere I go, hi Craig, haha, does it show up? Ha 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 ha. I have a screen that pops up. For unified user experience, you'll notice that this user, does my mouse work? I have this user right here, right? That's a computer, this is a laptop, this is like a mobile client. No matter where I am, I've got Lync. I have Lync on my phone, I've got Lync on my iPad, I've got Lync everywhere. It's a leash sometimes, right? Because I'm always available on Lync. But now you have users that may not need a laptop. Hezekiah Barnes from Southeast Christian Church does not have a laptop. He doesn't use Lync, he uses Jabber. That's totally cool. But he has a desktop computer. He has an iMac at his desk. And when he leaves the office, he's 100% iPad. He's a network administrator for a church with 4 campuses. It's one of the top 10 largest churches in the US. The ability to not have to carry around things like that, to be able to lighten your load, to be able to utilize mobile technology, Lync helps you do that. Full collaboration. Not just greater collaboration, but full collaboration, starting from an instant message to a screen share to full control of a computer to make that presentation be awesome, whatever. It does Skype federation. So you can be on Skype, I could be on Lync, and we can talk back and forth with full audio and video. Pretty cool, huh? There's some caveats, right? You have to log into Skype the right way. But we can talk through all that as well. And obviously, we have all these great ways to handle high availability and disaster recovery. I'm going to slide through a couple of these just because this is going to bore you to death. But what's important to know is that Lync can either be on-prem, it could be in Office 365, or it could be both, just like Exchange, right? There's pros and cons. The difference is, if you want dial tone with Lync, which is why a lot of you do, Lync lives on-prem only. Lync cannot live in a hybrid mode, and Lync cannot live in an Office 365 mode if you want to use Lync for dial tone. It's important to know. That may change in version.next. They've announced that that's supposed to change soon, but the unfortunate part is they didn't say when, and if you ask anybody at Microsoft when that will happen, they will turn the corner and not talk to you for the next 3 or 4 hours, or at least just me. I might have offended them all. Can you guys see that at all? Sort of, a little bit? This is a Lync video. It's a video chat. Some people call it Brady Bunch video. Some people call it Hollywood Squares video. The idea is if you get 10 or 12 or 15 people in a room, it tries to have the active speaker be in the bigger windows, and those that don't speak as much, all you shy introverted people, will be in little tiny postage stamp videos, but people will still be able to see you pick your nose, right? The idea here is to have some methodology to have full screen or small postage stamp screen video with people that you're videoing with. I mentioned before that everything inside Lync is trying to become a more unified Office experience. So inside the Lync client, I'm going to do a demo here in a second, you can share your screen. You can share PowerPoint. You can share a PowerPoint presentation. If you have OneNote turned up, you can now pull that PowerPoint presentation into OneNote, make all of your own notes, flip back and forth between the slides because I'm slow at slides, and you can see the whole presentation and drop off the presentation because I'm boring. Some pretty cool stuff that you could do inside Lync. Obviously, it's mobile. I've mentioned that already. I'm not going to bore you with that. It could be on your tablet, your phone. I don't care what kind of phone you use. I'm an iPhone person. You might be Android. I don't care. So when you're dealing with things like, that's a duplicate slide, sorry about that. When you're dealing with things like Outlook web access, you can do instant messaging and stuff directly from OWA. I'll repeat that. Some of you people, when you travel, you may need to have instant messaging conversations, but you don't need to have a full Lync FAT client as an executable, and you can do this all through Outlook web access. When you all travel, is it common for you to grab somebody else's computer and actually check your mail through Outlook web access? Am I the only one? Are we having any actually OWA users out there, like only OWA? Not very many. Most of you all use FAT clients. You use Outlook. OWA is awesome. It's a great tool, right? If you were ever a Google Apps person, it's all really kind of online anyway. You can use Outlook if you wanted to. But OWA is awesome. So the Microsoft UC stack for checking your voicemail, for doing really neat things, can all be done through OWA. There's actually an OWA app for your iPhone and for your Android. Not just your mail app, an actual OWA app for your iPhone or your Android. Let's say you're an iPhone user. You're running Exchange. You're here at a CITRT conference, and you forgot to set your out-of-office message. Can you do that through your iPhone? Well, you can't through the Mail app. You can do that through Safari. You can open up your laptop, or you can use the OWA app. The OWA app for iPhone is a fully functional Exchange client. It's pretty cool stuff. They are. Yep, they're there by default if you're running Lync. So it knows if you're running Lync, it pulls information, and those quick links are ways, if my mouse works, it's supposed to work. Lync on-premise server, or really Lync online as well. Some of the stuff will work with Lync online. It's a way for this to handle for instant messaging for calling, whether you're going to call through a PSTN call or just a computer-to-computer call. The whole purpose of this is to show you all that with Outlook products, not just Outlook as a client, but also Outlook web access, Lync and Outlook are fully integrated. You have full contacts with phone numbers, call voicemail directly. Thank you, Dave Mast. Full ways to see people-centric information. It sounds like a fancy word. One thing you may or may not know is as Microsoft's been shifting to this PowerShell-based solution, what is now the authoritative resource for everything that has to do with Exchange? It's no longer Exchange. It's actually Active Directory. Same thing with Lync. Same thing with Office 365. If you guys happen to utilize things like title in Manager and Department, that's all Active Directory attributes. So if you want that to properly show inside your title box right up here where it says Peter Sadow, whoever Peter Sadow is, it has a title. All that stuff comes from Active Directory. So let's say you wanted to move to Office 365 and you don't want to have on-premise Exchange, but you want to have some methodology to have multiple email aliases, and you want to change managers, and you want to be able to pull up and search inside your buddy list. That's all attributes inside Active Directory. So your Active Directory probably needs cleanup. right? But that's why they give you inside your Active Directory users and computers. You have tabs. Those tabs have contact information. They have addresses. They have titles. They have locations. You've probably never noticed it because you probably just deal with usernames, passwords, first names, aliases. You set group membership, and you move on. There's more there. I'm going to give you a quick little demo on Lync if you guys want to see it. This is who all's been talking to me. 4 or 5 of you. Awesome. This is Lync. Yay, everybody clap. Woo. So this is Lync. So Lync is just an instant messaging tool, right? False. Lync does everything. It's awesome. You need to get it. So Lync, from left to right, top to bottom. The left-hand side, this is my buddy list, right? I happen to have an address book in here for all Mirazon employees. So as we hire and fire, our address list is automatically updated for me. I don't have to add new buddies. It's just an Exchange distribution list, right? No big deal. But what's cool, I can tell you that Andy Cook is busy. Barry's available. Billy is away. Brent is in a meeting. How do I know Brent is in a meeting? Because it's on his calendar, right? What happens if he decides to not be in a meeting, but instead he decides to be available and then go back to busy? Does it update and say in a meeting? No, it does not. It just says busy. So what's cool about this is that your presence, some of you guys have asked me what presence mean. Presence is the red, yellow, green status. So let's think. I am now your church receptionist. Ring, ring, ring. Hello, thank you for calling Nowhere Church. Hi there, I'd like to be able to talk to Daryl Hunter. Oh, let me see if Daryl's available. Nope. Looks to me like Daryl is in yellow status. He's away right now. Would you like for me to send you to his voicemail? Some of you guys have that capability now, right? Whether you're using a digital phone system or an old school analog phone system, sometimes the receptionist has those big giant wings attached to their phone with all these big buttons that have lights that light up in different colors or double flashes or triple flashes so they know if you're busy or not. That's what this is, right? I have ways to be persistent chat. Again, we're ignoring that. All of my conversation history, good and bad, is there, so I'll skip right through that. This tab is my phone tab, right? So Lync is a phone system. So here's my cell phone for all of you all want to write it down and send me horrible phone calls later. I have too many windows open. Why is it not calling? Is this a demo fail? Because I'm offline. No, I'm not offline. What's going on? Anyway, so I make and receive all my phone calls either from a console like this. I can type out the number. Or I can find a username. I can call Craig. I can call through a speakerphone or plastic phones we have at our desk or Bluetooth headset. No one really cares, right? It's just phones, right? You don't really care. You know what? One of the most expensive capital projects that you've ever put in your phone system, inside your environment, was probably related to infrastructure of some sort. It could have been a SAN. It could have been a bunch of servers. It could have been your phone system. Because your phone system has plastic phones on your desk, right? Because to receive a phone call, you have to have a plastic phone. I mean, how could I possibly call and talk to my sister if I don't have a plastic phone? We do a lot of Microsoft Lync implementations. Most of our customers don't want plastic phones. They think they do, but they don't. What they want is freedom. They want the ability to work anywhere. They want the ability to go work from home. They want the ability to go drive across town and be able to receive and make and receive phone calls and see their voicemail anywhere they are. This is a way that you can make and receive phone calls. It's also got calendar. Wow, this is really bad. Calendar integration. This is where I'm at today. I do have a CRT-RT test meeting. You notice this one's blue. If I had a Lync meeting, I can join that Lync meeting immediately from my Lync client. I can join it via my audio. And now I'm part of this Lync meeting. So if any of you all wanted to, just for Daryl Hunter, just for fun, you could call that number, 502-400-1965, and type in a conference ID, and now you could join my Lync meeting via audio. I didn't have to set that up, right? It's just naturally already there, because that's how Lync works. If you had a web browser, you can go to meet.mirazon.com/daryl.hunter/ whatever that funky code is, NZ, whatever that is. The whole purpose of Lync, I'm sure some of you are going to do this just for fun, aren't you? Paul Triplet. What's fun is Lync has the ability to really communicate anywhere at any time, right? So I might need to have a kind of an ad hoc meeting of the minds. I'm stuck on a problem. I sure wish I could get Paul Triplett, and I can get Chris Adams, I can get Dave Mass, I can get Derek Schwab all in a meeting all at the same time right now and solve this problem that's been bothering me for the history of the world. I can do that with Lync. I can do that with lots of tools. The reason I like Lync is that I have one management console and I have one client installed on my computer to be able to do all of those things. Does that make sense? I'm going to close out of that. I'll cancel the conference. Sorry for all of you all that wanted to jump in. The way I created that meeting is through Outlook. Look at me. I minimized my mail. I clicked on this button that said New Lync Meeting. You notice when I said New Lync Meeting, it automatically populated a new Join Lync Meeting icon. No, you did not, because it's not on your screen. As soon as I clicked that, let me try that again, because that was horrible. And a big, giant demo fail. Daryl, you suck. So here is my Outlook client. I have this button that says New Lync Meeting. It populates all of my information, which it did populate all my information. Yay, Wi-Fi. It created a new URL for me automatically. Inside this URL, here's my new URL, meet.mirzon.com/daryl.hunter/some code. You notice that code's different. That's important. Have you guys ever called into a WebEx or a GoToMeeting and you showed up early and you heard the people before you talking? Yeah, have you ever done that before? Sometimes you have, sometimes you haven't. Wouldn't that be horrible if they were like, you know, HR talking about you and you showed up early? Wouldn't that be horrible if you were doing maybe, let's say, you were bidding out for RFP, some network infrastructure process, and you had multiple meetings back to back to back, and my competitor was ahead of me, but I joined early and had a chance to listen to what they were offering for you? Wouldn't that be convenient, horrible? Would that be horrible for that to happen? Right, so Lync creates new URLs and it creates new meeting IDs. This conference ID is new. I didn't have to do anything for this. This is natively built into the product, right? So now me and anybody else in my organization can create all these awesome conferences, which is fine and dandy, but it's just technology, right? The whole purpose of us using technology, not just for Jesus, but in general, is to leverage that technology for what we need to use it for, right? You need to be able to book conference rooms. How many conference rooms do you have? Never enough, right? So now you have virtual conference rooms where you can go sit and meet and IM and talk on the phone and talk on video and have face-to-face communication from across the world with your own church, with ministry partners, right? You guys with me? Cool. I can send this invite. Now it shows up on a calendar. No big deal. I'm not going to bore you with all the feature sets like that. I will, though, bring up my Exchange admin console. I'm going to not bring up my Lync console on purpose. This is my Exchange admin console. This is our Mirzon admin console. We use Exchange 2013. Exchange 2013 has a control panel, which is web-driven. It's just a web browser. This is Chrome. Sweet. It's just Chrome. It also has a PowerShell solution to it. But inside here, I obviously can create my mailboxes, and here's all of our mail users. But this unified messaging tab is kind of cool. This unified messaging tab is how I set up and make sure all of my dial plans work and all my voicemail works. And if I wanted to call in and check my voicemail, this is a number I would call in to check my voicemail. Extension 699, which is mapped to a direct number dial number to make Lync and Exchange work. I hate the fact that we've only got like 10 minutes left. But what I wanted to really get across to you guys was that Lync and Exchange are married, and Lync and Exchange talk together. They do unified messaging. It's a phone system. We're going to dive in briefly to some highly available discussion, and then I wish I had another half hour. I thought for sure I had 2 hours today, but I don't, so that's a bummer. Daryl, you are doing it wrong. Highly available. Say again? Yeah, for sure. I would love to be able to do that. So just like with Exchange, you have some high availability discussion. Lync comes in two flavors. It comes in a standard and enterprise. They cost the same. It really comes down to how you deploy it. Standard edition is a co-located all roles on one box. For many of you with Exchange, this is how you run Exchange today. right? You have all roles in one box. Lync can do that as well, standard edition. There's no high availability. But you can have some methodology of disaster recovery, right? You can have two Lync boxes talk to each other. They call it pool pairing. You can also do Enterprise Edition. Enterprise Edition has multiple Lync servers, all linked together into a pool, unless the SSL certificates all get corrupt and you reboot them, Paul Triplett. So there are many things that you can do for high availability with Enterprise Edition, but you can also do disaster recovery, right? Just like with Standard Edition, you can pair pools. The whole purpose of this is to make sure that you can make and receive phone calls, right? Or make and receive instant messaging conferences. Because when you start really embracing unified communications tools, they're going to become business critical to you. It's going to be important for you to be able to utilize a tool like Lync to maybe teach some distance learning course. Maybe you're going to start doing online life groups for people that can't come to a church building. Maybe you're going to start offering, I don't know, like a church I work with in Florida, you're going to start offering pastor school type classes. Because there's some churches out there that have a whole Timothy model, right? Where you have elders and teaching pastors that are working with Timothys, young men in the church that they're wanting to equip to become potentially Bible school students or potentially group leaders. Now you can do webinars. You can do distance learning teaching with a tool like Lync, but you want that to be highly available. That way every single Monday night they're able to attend their teaching. Does that make sense? Right? License cost is the same. Depends on how you install it. Some cost discussion. Again, I'm going to give all of this slides to you anyway. There are pieces. This is Microsoft, right? There's going to be a server piece, and there's going to be some client access license pieces. You deal with this all day long anyway, with Active Directory and for user CALs, for Exchange with your standard and or enterprise CALs. Certainly all of you guys are licensing experts and know exactly what to buy and when to buy it, right? We like to joke at Mirazon that licensing is so complicated that we had to get a PhD for it. And it's true. We have a guy named Seth on our staff who does have his PhD, and he's one of the smartest licensing guys I know. His PhD is in archaeology, which I think really helps him dig up how to properly license Microsoft stuff. But you have to be able to properly license and discuss the cost for Lync. The moving parts are servers, CALs, a client, and if you're going to use Lync as your phone system, you have to have an enterprise Exchange CAL. That's how unified messaging comes. Does that make sense? Say again? Yeah. Yeah, so Exchange Enterprise, not server, but Exchange Enterprise CAL is what authorizes your users for unified messaging, for voicemail. So where this comes in, I'm going to actually shift this topic without asking any more questions to Office 365. It's a giant topic. But good news, Travis Phipps tomorrow morning is talking a lot about Office 365, right? Yay, do you see what I did there? Travis is the smart one to talk to. I've got 2 or 3 more minutes left. I'm going to bring up this very last slide for you. Not that one. Not that one. But that one right there. Can you see that at all? No, you can't. That sucks. Sorry. So Office 365, you heard this morning, is free, right? E1 is free, $0. You can have your email back and forth. If you want to use Office 365 for Lync, you want to have the E3 plan. It's $4.50 a month per user. Please don't feel like you have to quickly write all this down. Remember, I'm going to send these slides to you. That way you can read it later. And you're probably going to hear the same exact information from Travis Phipps. So if you wanted to have Exchange online through Office 365, you can do that. It's $4.50 a user a month, which may be expensive for you. It probably is not expensive for you, right? Because if you're going to put in a new phone system, you're probably going to have a capital project to put in a new phone system, and that capital project is going to include plastic phones, which you may or may not need. But whatever phone system you use may or may not offer you the ability to throw those plastic phones in the bin, right? They may not give you that opportunity. You're going to have licensing of some sort, and you're going to have to pay for it somehow, whether it's through a capital expense of licensing CALs or a monthly recurring cost for Office 365. Man, I had 3 more things I wanted to talk about, and I'm out of time. So here's what I'm going to do. It is 3 o'clock, and if you would like to leave, you're welcome to leave. I'm going to keep talking about a couple things if you want to stay. You will not offend any of us if you need to get up and leave. Is that cool? Before I dismiss you, is there anything important that I need to write down to talk to you about, or do you want to come find me at Mirazon? Important topic for the class? We have. I can talk to you about that for sure. It depends on what version of... Sorry. He asked about Lync clients for Macs disconnecting. We can talk about that. It really depends on what version of Lync you're running and how you built your pool. And I know that Paul can probably talk to you about that as well. They're mostly Mac at New Spring, and I'm sure they've seen the exact same thing. So Paul, this guy, Paul. Cool. Anything else for the class? Thanks for bearing with me. I'm sorry for running over. If you guys want to go, please go. But I'm going to talk about 2 more things real quick. So remember, the slides will be available. The slides will be available. Cool. I'll pause for a minute if you want to get up. No big deal. It's a great question. So if you're going to buy the $2 Office, what that will give you, what? Yeah, that will give you the ability to have the client, but that's not going to give you the ability to have any communication. You still have to have an implementation of Lync server, whether it's on-prem or whether it's Office 365. Does that make sense? The $2 piece is just the client, the installation of Office. So Word, Excel, PowerPoint, yeah, Lync as a client. It does, but remember now we have 3 different things. E1 and E3 are actual server-side pieces. They give you Exchange and they give you Lync, right? E1 does not give you the ability to run Word. E3 does. The $2 thing you buy a la carte lets you run Word, but it doesn't by itself give you access to Exchange Online. Does that make sense? They're like separate and distinct and individual. That's a bummer. Cool. Let me see where I was at on this. I got 2 slides. I'm going to go through them relatively quickly. Can you guys see that? This was something that Teresa asked me about, so I want to talk about it. Office 365 for interoperability. You have to have some methodology. Is that up on the screen? Of ADFS. I mentioned this towards the beginning. ADFS is Federation Services. It is a way to get same sign-on. Hey, guys in the back, thank you for sticking with me. I will be really quick, I promise. You have to have some methodology to handle Federation Services to do same sign-on. Directory sync and password sync is probably what you're looking for. And I'm not going to go too far into it because I'm repeating myself from before, but if you want Lync on-prem and Exchange Online for voicemail, you have to have some methodology to do this, whether it's going to be ADFS or directory sync. And we're going to talk about that more probably in person because you probably have questions because, you know, I'm a loser and went over. The very next slide, and this is the last slide, Office 365 interoperability. Lync and Exchange Online, right? Lync on-prem, Exchange Online, or Lync Online and Exchange Online both. Fully compatible. Lync and Exchange are married. They're always going to work together, no matter where Exchange lives. They're awesome, they're married, and what shall be brought together shall not be separated. Hopefully, unless it's Microsoft that does something dumb. Lync and Exchange hybrid, right? Now you have both Exchange on-prem and Exchange Online. Your mailboxes can easily float back and forth between the two. Fully compatible. Lync for voice, your mailboxes can live in both. Mailboxes and voicemail work perfectly. Perfectly compatible. Finally, Exchange Online and some other on-premise voice solution. It works most of the time, but it may or may not be supported. It looks kind of like this. You have an on-premise solution for PBX. You have a Microsoft Office 365 data center. And then down at the very bottom where those orange boxes are the 2 ways to communicate the 2 together. And I can draw this out into big, pretty whiteboards that you don't really care about, and we can do lots of cool things. I'm over. I'm sorry. Thanks for sticking it out. Bye. Thanks for staying, guys.